All right, y'all, here we go. Episode 2, Dr. D and Dr. Klaus. All right, and kind of sort of in the videos. Let's come on. All right, so let's let him get in there. Have a seat. All right, so today, I was like, what we're going to talk about? We're waiting for you guys to send in some questions. So I figured since I'm a psychologist and I talk about mental health stuff, that we'll talk about mental health, right?
Right.
All right, so we're going to talk about mental health. And my research, my doctoral research was on self-concealment, perceived discrimination, and major depression in African Americans. And that research basically was revealed how African Americans, those who identify as African Americans, and other minorities, because African American is like a broad term of different cultures, in case you didn't know, but how we conceal what it is that we really feel, who we really are, and experiences that we have, and because we perceive that we'll be discriminated against. This is not everyone, but is a culture, right? And how that keeps us from seeking treatment for mental health issues, and actually keeps us sicker longer. Oh, I just lost my ocean stone. Anyway, so I was inspired to do that because it was very silent in my family about anything about mental health, and I noticed it was also in my culture, and I wanted to know why. I'm like, am I the only one that experiences it? So anyway, over my own journey, not just through school, but my life, I've been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder. And so Dr. Klaus today is going to talk about what we're going to talk about together, what it's like to live with a parent with mental health issues, especially like before we even knew what's going on with me and things like that. So, or before they kind of had an understanding. So I guess I got a question for you, son. Like, when did you maybe know, like, that I might have been depressed? Like, how old were you, and like, what was going on, with me or in the house that made you might know that I might have been depressed?
Well, as a kid, you can see the symptoms, but you don't really know what it is. You just think, oh, your mom's stuck in a room, or she never wants to go out or something. And then you see your sister doing it, and you just think, oh, that's a girl thing. But as you get older, you actually learn what everything means, and you keep hearing you talk about everything. It became more clear, like, that you had depression and stuff, and that, like, it was kind of eating you alive. So, like, first, taking care of somebody with depression really does suck, because it's like you gotta try to be the uplifting to everything, even when you don't really see a uplifting to everything. And like, all you can kind of do is kind of encourage that person, because like, it's not that they can't encourage themselves, but it's because they don't feel no motivation to, or they don't add value to their own lives, because they're letting like all their darkness and all that sadness and emotion to just like consume them. So like, a way I would help my mom is I would always convince her to get out the house and get some sunshine, and maybe civilize with regular people instead of like clients, because I know she got tired of hearing them. But like, I still think it's good. I think it's good that like she gets out, because I think like that can help her, help her get friends and stuff. That can also help her through that process, or any other process is that she have.
So he alluded to like me being in my room as a small child, or young child, around 12ish, is when my parents first started noticing that I was just spending a whole lot of time in my room. Nobody knew what it was. Just like I spent time in my room, listened to a lot of music, read a lot, wrote a lot, just created a lot of things or whatever, but was very isolated. And I mean, honestly, I thought that's how a lot of people were. But even as an adult, I would do the same thing. Come home, do whatever, socialize a little bit with the family real quick, make sure they fed and everything, and then I would go to my room. It wasn't until later that I realized isolation when people tend to isolate themselves, it's one of the symptoms of depression. Just not motivated to do things that they would normally do, because I'm genuinely an outgoing person, but I don't know if you remember this. So this was probably about maybe 10 or 12 years ago. I was severely depressed. And I remember my son, he was in elementary school, and every morning before, I made my own hours or whatever, but every morning before he'd go to school, he'd always come in and say, all right, mommy, get ready to head to school, yada, 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 have a good day, hug me up or whatever. And then this one day, he did that normal thing, and he came home, and he said, Mom, you're still in bed. And this dude is like this high. I'm not that tall, so he probably like, but he like this high. I was like, Mom, you still in bed? And I remember like getting ready to form a lie. Like I was like telling him like, no, I hadn't been in bed, because I was so embarrassed and so ashamed. And I was like, no, son, I got up, I went to the bathroom, I got something to eat, which was true. But I realized in that moment that my son, and this is before I got real like educated in mental health stuff, I realized that my son had discovered, even though he hadn't been home, and every day that he'd come home, I'd still like probably beat him in the bed before he got home. But this particular day, it just stood out to me. Do you remember that? No.
I just remember it being that.
You just remember it being like that? Oh, he said he just remembered it being like that, not necessarily that he said that, but I remember he said that to me. And when he said that to me that day, I actually decided to ask for help. I had moved multiple states away from home, and I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, I'm not doing well. I need to come home. And so I ended up staying with my mom for a few months, and that's when I discovered not only did I have major depressive disorder, I discovered that I had generalized anxiety and panic disorder. I had it so bad, like for almost 6 months, I couldn't even really go out in public. I
got this disorder too. It's called extremely handsome disorder.
You're so random. That's him. When it gets too serious, he gotta tell a little joke, whatever. But anyway, so for that period of time, and so then from there, I really got on a quest to find out. I'm like, I don't want anybody else to suffer like that. So it's still times like that. It doesn't get that bad, but it's times where you can tell when I'm having an episode, though, right?
Yeah, I just tell you go dance.
Yeah, dancing will make me happy, dancing and exercising. So mental health is a real thing, guys. It's hard for people to really understand and imagine what mental health is about, because they can only think of like a back pain. If somebody got a back pain or a broken leg, you can see that. You can't see mental health, if you will, the way that people view it, because it's very stigmatized. People will be like, okay, just snap out of it, or if you just feel better. Well, hell, if I felt like just feeling better, I would have easily done that. Nobody wants to be in that state. But what I've learned is to stick to a routine. That's why you guys see me exercising, walking, and dancing. And I have a pretty steady routine. And so my son and other family members can tell, like, if 1 or 2 days, like on my game, my son will be like, no, Mom, you've been in the house, you need to get out the house. And I'm like, I kind of fight. I'm like, I'm all right, but really it's having a support system also helps. If you have people around you that don't understand mental health, then educate yourself on mental health, and then, take them to your appointments. If you have a therapy appointment, let your psychologist, your therapist educate them on some of those things. But I have to say, having a supportive family, my son is super, super supportive. When I was married, my ex, he was supportive too, and get me out. And my girls are too, but my son, he's just a little bit more intuitive than my other 2 kids. And when I say intuitive, I always tell him he could be a therapist. You should hear this dude sometimes talking to his friends' parents. He's very much into connecting with people and reading people. It's called emotional intelligence. So this is a little more on the serious side today, because mental health is a real thing. Some people have like seasonal affective disorder is more like in the winter time months. For me, that's like a double depression time. But some people even experience in the summertime too. So, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't share with y'all some stuff on mental health too. So y'all make sure you drop us some questions. Like I said, there is nothing that is off limits. A quick little thing, you know, if you asked about medication, I took medication before. I've just learned now that I don't need medication anymore. It was helpful during the time, but medication does have a lot of side effects, and it doesn't really cure mental health. It just treats a symptom. So I found out through changing my diet and my habits and my mindset, mindset coach, that I have a better quality of mental health than just popping a pill. Yeah, that was kind of cool, wasn't it? All right, so you guys go and crush your day. This is the end of episode 2. We'll see you next time, Dr. D. And
bro, give us some questions. What's up with y'all?
questions. You want questions?
Yes.
You want a question? All right, but I said Dr. D. You gotta tell me your name.
Dr. Klaus out.